Hey, Matt. There was a lot of questions from us after we talked to you last night about what was going on with Robbie Anderson on the sideline, and he seemed to be very visibly upset. Can you kind of explain that to us, or what do you know of that, and what's any repercussions?
I have no repercussions. I mean, I haven't talked to Robbie yet. Someone said, he was upset that he thought he wanted us to double move. They were sitting on some routes, wanted us to double move, stutter and go, and I think, like I said, I think everybody just needs to do their job. At the end of the day, we have the lead in the fourth quarter. We have chances to catch balls, to put the game away, blocks to be made. If everyone just does their job, like I said yesterday, it starts with me. We all got to play better. So, players put a lot into it. There's going to be emotion at times. No big, we're a tough staff. We coach hard. The players are tough. I have no issue with the guy doing that as long as it stays within as long as it stays within a certain realm. If it becomes personal, whether a coach to a player to a coach, that's not who we are. But that was an emotional game, and but you sit back and look at it, David. At the end of the day, if everyone just would have played well and coached well, we'd have won the game. So, we'll try to keep it football.
Yeah, I agree with that. And as far as the connection that Robbie and Sam had at New York, why haven't we seen that kind of transfer into this season?
It hasn't. I don't know. I mean, it just hasn't. We've worked on it. We had routes to go to Robbie yesterday. I think a lot of yesterday. I think Sam was out of whack early, passing on the first read, pressure up front. I mean, I don't think it was a very good day. So, why? I'm working hard to figure out the whys, trying to create those opportunities. I don't know how many catches or targets he had yesterday. I don't have that in front of me, but Robbie's a good player and he needs to be more involved. At the same time, he also, when he has opportunities, whether it's the two third downs we threw to him, we also need him to go make those plays too. So, Robbie knows I love him, and I've known him a long time. So, he's got to go make those plays, and we got to do a better job of getting him involved. This is one of those pretty disappointing days globally. You know what I'm saying? This isn't one of those, hey, it was just one thing. There'll probably be a little bit of thing out there like, hey, the defense played well, and it's 2 weeks in a row now the defense had a chance to stop the opponent and get the ball back to go down and score, and we weren't able to do it defensively. So, really, just a disappointing day.
Matt, Sam has been hit third most in the league, sacked third most in the league. I understand that, there's only so many areas you can hit in the draft. You're trying to build the defense, but is it time to start investing, more draft picks in that offensive line? Do you feel like, as you get forward?
I'm here to, that's a good question, Steve. I appreciate it. I'm probably not going to talk about the draft right now. To me, the guys we have are professional football players. We've got to play way, way better. That was not good enough up front. So we've got to coach it better. We've got to play better. We've got to help them in different ways. We'll try to address things as they come in the future. Obviously, re-signing Timo was a big move. This offseason. We drafted Brady. He got his first start yesterday. So at the end of the day, we're in the fifth game of the second year. We turned over the roster a lot. I think I saw something last week. We're first or second, we're highest or second highest in first and second year players. So we have to have them grow together. But to your point, I don't want to diminish your point. We've got to play way better up front. I thought the run game at times looked good, and then holding calls hurt us. We've got to play with better technique and better effort to finish. And so our guys here, these are great guys. They'll be the first to say that.
Next up, we'll go to Will Pelagic, followed by Joe Person.
Man, kind of doubling down on that, how did you think both Taylor and Brady graded out in their, I guess, new spots, if you will?
Just like pretty much everybody else on the team, just none of it was good enough. None of us were good enough yesterday.
And just also from the standpoint of the interior leakage, what do you guys have to adjust in terms of how you call the offense, how you end up going about executing the offense when you have as much interior leakage as you had?
It's a good question. We've got to run the football better to not allow people just to take off on us. Though we had a nice plan yesterday with some outside zones and RPOs, and had a chance to throw a bunch of them and only threw a couple. We have to score touchdowns. We have a chance to kind of shift the flavor of the game. We tried to chip inside and help out the inside guys. We tried to help Brady, with some chips from the tight ends. So I think they had a decent plan, but obviously it didn't work out, right? So that way their two best players were Fletcher Cox and Hargraves. We knew that was going to be that way, just didn't win that battle. So we'll have to look for everything, Will, to make sure this week that we give those guys inside the best chance to be successful.
Hey, Matt, you referenced the 2 third-down throws to Robbie. One of those yesterday, you had said you kind of put on Sam. Did you see anything on tape that changed your mind on that one? Yeah,
it's a good question, Joe. I think, at the end of the day, I mean, he's open. We just put the ball. We got to put the ball on him, catch him, and get the first down. And at the same time, the ball's there. We lay out, catch the ball. So, you guys know me. I'm not in the business of calling guys out, but I think this is one of those games where just across the board, whether it's a guy who has the quarterback on his zone read doing his own thing, whether it's there's just we can't have the lead in the fourth quarter and lose games. Like, that's just, and so their guys made a bunch of really nice plays in the fourth quarter to get to block that punt. Gosh darn it, flies. I'm sorry, guys. For them, they made plays in the fourth quarter that we didn't make, and that's one of them. So, but it's it's just not on any one guy. It's all of us have to be better. And so when that's the case, when it's one guy, I'm kind of like, hey, we got to correct this guy. When it's something like yesterday, that falls squarely on me as far as I'm concerned, right? I allowed yesterday to happen, and that's unacceptable. I can tell you, I'll get it fixed.
And have you seen any relation to Robbie's frustration affecting his effort at this point?
No, I don't have any issues with Robbie's effort. No, not at all.
Okay, next up we'll go to Jonathan Alexander, followed by Scott Fowler.
Hey, Matt, when we talked to Sam yesterday and we asked him about the 5 turnovers in the past 2 games, he said he felt like he was pressing a little bit. What have you seen?
I think that A, we have to do a better job of protecting Sam. I'll start there. B, Sam just has to play within the system and not try to do too much. It's the same thing we said I think we said two weeks ago. Like, you guys said, how would it affect Sam without having McCaffrey out there? And I said, just like last year, when McCaffrey goes out, the quarterback can't try to do too much, right? You can't force the ball to DJ. You can't try to do too much. Just let the system work, And I really think, you guys have asked me a lot about the third quarter. I can promise you I think about it just as much as you guys do too. It's like it's driving me nuts. And I think we'll fix it. But the way we're going to fix it is, we score, most of our touchdowns happen in the first 3 or 4 drives of a game, right? And then it's kind of like after those things we're real comfortable with are gone. Once it gets a little bit harder, everyone starts pressing and and when I say pressing, what does that mean? Like, you just play within the system. So whether that's Sam, whether that's a linebacker, everyone, we have a good team. Just play within the system and don't do too much. And, when you get veteran players, they kind of get that, right? They know that. Like, veteran players know that, the game's going to go up and down, back and forth. And, young players, they want to win all the time. And it's never going to be easy for us. We're not the type of team, like, we've never, I think, trailed in the first half. Is that true? I don't think we've ever trailed in the first half. And it's like we have to get used to, things aren't going to be easy, and we've got to play better in the second half. So I say all that to say, Jonathan, Sam is excellent when he just plays within the system. He takes the first read. If it's not there, goes to the second read. We've got to protect him better. And then Sam just needs to take what's given to him. And I think if he does that, we'll get back on track quickly.
And if I could ask quickly, when you talked about Chuba playing well, if Christian does come back, how has he earned that right to, get more touches when Christian does come back?
Chuba played excellent. He had one drop. He had one run that I thought was going to go for about 60 that he got tripped up. Guy grabbed his leg or else he was gone. He had 100 yards and probably could have had 130 if some of those runs weren't called back with holds. I think we had an 11-yard run called back, and I forget what the other one was, maybe an 8, 9, 10-yard run. So Chuba is playing well, and I think it'll be a tremendous compliment whenever Christian is back with us.
Matt, I have two questions. One is you kind of led into it there, but where do you see Christian's status right now for Sunday?
I'll probably know better Wednesday, but I'm hopeful that he'll play this week.
And the other thing I was going to ask you about, you referred to this in your press conference yesterday a little bit, but they got on the edge a ton there in that last drive. It seemed like they were sweeping, and whatever reason it didn't get set. What was going on there, do you think?
You're talking about the last drive when they get the ball around the edge, you're saying?
Yeah, they kept going left. It seemed like maybe Fox was over there, but I don't know if it was someone else's responsibility. What was?
Yeah, great question. No, they went tackle over, so they put the tackle. They had a 3-man service with the tackle. We were sound. We were gapped out. We have a guy in every gap. Everybody plays their gap, turns the ball back inside. They all respect to Philadelphia. Philadelphia made the plays to win the game, but they tried to let us back in the game by running out of bounds twice. So everybody just stays in their gap. It's the same thing from last week, right? When everyone on our defense just does their job, we have an excellent defense. When a guy gets out of his gap, then big things happen. So the long run that they had was a guy getting out of his gap. I mean, we need the 3 technique to stay in the B gap, the 5 technique to stay in the C gap, and it didn't always happen. They won the blocks, and a lot of it was self-inflicted wounds. I mean, there's a lot to learn from this tape, and I know a lot of questions are going to be about the offense, but if you have a lead in the fourth quarter with the players we have on defense, we should never lose. We should never lose, and so I hope our defense shows up today with that mentality and doesn't just fall victim to the offense turned the ball over, We all get that. No one's taking it away from the offense. This is a team loss. Special teams, offense, defense. We've got to play better.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we'll go to Deshaun Brown, followed by Will Kunkel.
Coach, I'd be curious to get your perspective on this. You mentioned, the first I wanted to ask, you mentioned the potential for guys possibly starting to press after having the lead. How do you coach around that or coach through that to hopefully prevent that in the future?
It's a great question. You keep hammering the points home that are so hard in our society, and that's just to keep doing your job and don't get lulled to sleep with success, right? Like at the end of it, we didn't have a great team last year, but our team last year showed up every game. And maybe, we were always underdogs, and we showed up every game, and we fought and scratched and clawed in every game to have a chance to hang in there. And if we have that same mentality, which I'm not saying we don't have, I'm just saying as we move forward, if we keep that same mentality of it's not going to be easy. We might have a lead. Like the other teams in the National Football League, if they're losing at halftime, they go in there and they get after each other, and they're and then they go back out, and then they adjust and they play their best football in the second half. And so if we do that, and I think our defense did do that to a point. They took the ball away twice in the third quarter. Gave up one big play. So be it. But we've just got to continue to work on that message of just like it's all about us. It's about what we do, and that's why whether it's hey, should we blitz more? Should we run a double move? Should we run? It's not about that. To me, it's not about that. Coaches have to give them the best chance to be successful. But we have such talented players. If they will continue to buy into just doing their job and playing hard, playing for each other, sacrificing for each other, being accountable to the system and playing within the system, we'll have success, whether we're losing or whether we're winning. Last week we were down 3 scores. We played within the system. We protected the quarterback. Sam took us right down the field twice, scored 2 touchdowns. It looked easy. We were out of rhythm all game, really, this game in the passing game. Just staying true to that, I think, is the key, is being locked into just one play at a time. That's not really like it's not like some cool thing, but it's the only way I know. It's how you build buildings, one brick at a time, and you win games one play at a time. And you can't take shortcuts, and you can't have lapses in focus. And again, that's why I would say it starts with me, because that was not representative yesterday in the fourth quarter of the brand that we want to play in any way, and we have to get it fixed, and we will.
Kind of to that point, Matt, you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but now this week, you keep saying that if these guys play within the system and they do their job, then we're going to be okay. So how do you kind of talk to some of these guys throughout the week saying, listen, don't go out there and try to do more. You're not going to get that win back from last week. Just do your job this week. you have to coach that even more this week?
I think this is my take on it, and I'm just one, I'm the head coach. And while, that position makes me a leader, at the end of the day, radical change, when I say radical change, it's like truly buying into something comes from each guy's decision. And I think that comes from truth. So what is the truth? It's the film. So when we watch the film today, everybody has it. I mean, guys were disappointed. We have a great group of guys. No one wanted that to happen. But if we watch the tape and guys see that if they see it the same way I see it, like, hey, if we just do our job, we're going to play better football. Then that's truly how growth happens. Like, this was a game we couldn't have lost, but we did lose, and so it's like, okay, I don't want to lose ever, but if the pain of this loss causes us to understand more of what it's going to take for us to win, to me, Will, that's the only good that comes from bad. So I think it starts with watching the tape today, and it starts. We'll be in these situations moving forward, and when we get in those moments, if everyone settles down and just says, hey, I'm going to do my job and trust my teammates, I think, we'll win those games in the fourth quarter.
We've got time for a couple more. We'll finish up with Vashti Hurt, followed by Joe Person.
Sorry, guys. Hi, Coach. I was just curious about the development of Deontay Brown and what you've seen from him so far.
He was active for the first time this game. He's doing a good job. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's he's in much better shape than he was when we first got him. I think, he was in the 355 range, maybe even 360 at one point. He's down in that 335 range. So he's getting better and better. And, he's a guy that will continue to compete to get on the field.
Hey, Matt, to the point you mentioned earlier, that the feeling, I guess, by Robbie that you could have done more double moves, and you sort of referenced that yesterday, saying how Dallas had nearly picked for those comebacks last week. Are you thinking along those same lines that our teams are sitting on your routes late in games or ever?
I think they did. They came out. They were all cover 2. They changed everything that they did. They went to Bear cover 1, which is really, Joe, how everyone's kind of playing us. So I think it's in between, right? Like, I think we need two things. Joe. I think Joe would be the first to say, hey, I'm going to stretch the field a little bit more and try to take some more shots. It's hard to take shots when you don't trust the timing of the protections. So it's all of us. And then at the same time, nothing's always going to really always be easy, right? Like, sometimes we're just going to have to beat guys. Like, I'll tell you this, I believe this with all my heart. The wrong offensive call or the wrong defensive call played by the right players is a lot better than the right call played by the wrong players. And so, I think we all come out of the game saying, hey, wish we would have pushed the ball down the field a little bit more. That being said, I also need, when we don't, we need to go win as well. And so there's a lot, like I said, that's why I've said all along, there's a lot for all of us to do better. The only way I know how to fix things like, yesterday's game is for me to say I'm going to do better. I just think it's this journey. Like, everyone says they want to win. Every organization says they want to win. Everyone says the right things. It's the teams that do it, right? Because everyone says they want to win until it affects them, and then they've got to do something hard. And so I got to lead the way, Joe, by pushing myself to push people to be uncomfortable. The players have to push me. This has to be a great week for us because everyone says they want to win. Who's willing to do? We define toughness here as doing what the team needs. And so everybody, whether it's you just asked about Deontay Brown, every coach, every player, everyone's got to push themselves this week to play our best game. And so. It'll say. I think this week will really define a lot about who we are. You know what I mean? Like, if you come off these 2 losses, and we should look like a really good football team next week. And if there's a matchup, if we struggle versus a matchup, so be it. But we should look good, and that's the type of week it has to be.
And then, Matt, just real quick, procedurally, wondering what Cam Irving's status would be, and curious about Rodney Smith's release.
Cam will be on Wednesday. And just decided to move on from Rodney.